All right, everyone, welcome to our Monday, September 18th Burlington Advisory Committee meetings. I will tell you ahead of time, I did get a number of cancellations, as it looks like Catherine will not be here. I don't know if Scott said he would not be here, and a couple other people. So we're going to be a little light-handed, but I appreciate everyone coming. I am going to, if I can find it, share our agenda, which I know I brought up, but I can't see it on the share thing. Where are you? But anyway, in order to get started, let's go through, as we normally do, of just introducing ourselves. I am going to start off, and I'll just go according to my screen. So let's go with the Burlington Parks and Recreation crew.
Thanks, Nate. I'm John Adams Collins in the Planning Division.
I'm Sophie Sauvé, also in the Planning Division.
All right, and next we got, oh, there we go. Next we got Laura.
You're talking about me or the other Laura?
Oh, Laura Siegel. Oh, you're right. I totally forgot there are two Lauras. My bad. Laura Siegel.
I'm Laura Siegel. I'm the director of Jeff Hardipian, the plant director for DARE. Laura, you can take the next one.
All right. Alex.
Sorry, is that supposed to be Allie?
Allie, sorry.
No, it's okay. I put in Alexandra today because I was like logging in. Sorry, I'm not on my video. I'm actively chasing my toddler around my living room on this meeting. She's saying look because she thinks I'm talking to her papa. I am Allie Fuddy. I am the program manager for the Northeast Resource Center for Vision Education at UMass Boston, but I'm also a Burlington resident with a visual impairment myself.
Karen Downey. You're muted.
I found my mute button. I'm Karen Downey. I'm a Burlington resident, retired occupational therapist, and I'm also on the board of the Vermont Occupational Therapy Association and the Vermont Ambox Adapted Trike Association. Good
Cool.
to be.
And Laura Wheelock, Laura 2.0.
Yep. Laura, I work with the Public Works Department as a project engineer.
Okay. Public forum. I know we usually have, I was hoping somebody would come in regarding to the fifth thing, but anybody, Allie, anything you want to discuss as part of the public forum? We could also treat it as news and updates.
I know it's like Allie's the person who's got something for public forum, right? Well, I just I did want to say, and Sophie, I don't know if you were still there. I saw Sophie at my local NPA meeting, which was fun, but I did bring up to the city councilor, my city councilors at our NPA meeting, which my family always goes to. That's the Neighborhood Planning Association meeting for anybody that doesn't live in Burlington. About just the needs now that, you know, Burlington just got redistricted, and I've brought it up here, but I brought it up to my city councilors, making sure that they're considering the needs of residents with disabilities with the new redistricting when it comes to voting, and the fact that people are going to be going to new voting locations and maybe they've been voting in one place the last 10 years, and just to sort of have some thoughtfulness around that. I didn't get like a, oh my gosh, what a great idea. I sort of got like a, yes, like a deer in headlights reaction, I would say, from my city councilor, but I hope like then he went home and processed a little bit. So I just want to mention that I did that. Hopefully that'll have some impact, at least in Ward 2 and 3 in Burlington. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, and well, let me just ask really quick, later on this, are we going to be talking at all about the Oak Ledge project on this today, or should I ask my sort of question now about that?
I think we can certainly do it as part of the news and updates. I
Okay.
think we could certainly give the fact that both John and Sophie are here. I think it's totally appropriate to do that. Um, so yeah. I did also want to ask you, Ali, I don't know if you're still in the loop, or if VABVI has anything to do with LEAP, but it sounds like they're doing a White
Yep.
Chain Awareness Day on Saturday,
Yes,
October 14th.
October 14th. Yep. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Saturday, October 14th will be White Cage Awareness Day in Burlington. I think it starts with a walk from the cafe on Cherry Street. Is my understanding. I just learned about it today, so it's pretty new to me. But it would be great. I don't know. It feels like they're kind of being put together for last minute this year. So I don't know how big of an event it's going to be, but it'd be great for anybody who wants. If you have that email actually, and you can send it out to this group, it'd be great.
Yeah.
And I didn't even send
And
an email. Somebody just like verbally told me that it was
yeah,
happening.
and
So
I can send that out, and I think there might be a way to get it on the city calendar. I was actually reached out to about going to that. Unfortunately, I cannot make it to that, but I'm actually going to be delivering a workshop to the students about able accounts
oh,
um,
cool.
on the 15th, which is the next day, Sunday. So, but yeah, I can send out the announcement and maybe we can get that on the city calendar.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Um, just before John began the floor to John and Sophie about the Oaklades, I did want to give a couple news and updates. So if you remember at the last meeting, we were having the issue of Ethan being transferred over to the Racial Equity Task Force, and us trying to find somebody else new. We had worked with Brian Pine on that, and we do have somebody who will be taking the minutes and doing something, and it happens to be Ethan. So Ethan will be back with us. He's out this week. So what they did was, and I think Vanessa and Scott brought it up, is they did transfer the duties over to the Racial Equity Task Force, which they agreed fit well with their mission. And hopefully maybe that can open up some more avenues of places that this group could work with. So that's good news. So I'm going to be I've been kind of going back and forth with Ethan on the emails. I'm going to be sending him the recordings, the video recordings of these meetings and the transcripts, and he's going to try to cobble some meeting minutes and stuff to put in, and we should be put in the website, and then hopefully when we have our October meeting, we'll have we'll be back to our usual schedule in keeping meeting minutes. The only other thing I wanted to bring up, and I'm kind of going on Allie's issue with this, and it's just something. So, those who don't know, my office is right down our Pine Street interacts with Kilburn Street, so it's that big brown building right next to the Citizen Cider. And I guess 2 weeks ago, when the weather's nice, I like to take the bus, and I just drive my chair down to the downtown transit center. And as I'm leaving my building out of the Four Corners of the Earth Line, going down to the sidewalk on Pine Street, I turn the corner, and what do I see? One of those e-bikes, just kind of sitting there in the middle of the sidewalk. And I kind of maneuvered around that. And then as I turn right to go up Kilburn Street, no more than 100 feet up, there was another e-bike. So they were literally parked right in the middle of the sidewalk. And actually, for the second one, I actually had to go back on the curb ramp, drive up Kilburn Street, and then wait for the curb ramp to go back up. So I now have this experience. So I do think if we could write something or provide something to let them know people use those e-bikes to put them on the grass or put them somewhere out of the way so they're out of paths, because it was like a double whammy, and I think it was on a Monday, so I think it might have been right after they had the farmers market or something like that where they were just left there. But it was definitely something that I noticed firsthand too a few weeks ago. And I don't know what much as we can do about that, but I know we talked about maybe drafting a letter and sending that to somebody from the e-bike company or who, Laura, do you have a
You're picking
recommendation
up?
of
Thanks.
what's that?
I think
Who
Ali
we can send that to?
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm so sorry. I was thanking my toddler for cleaning up her diapers
Yeah.
unmuted. Sorry.
Actually, after the last meeting that we had, I reached out to CATMA, which prompted a little bit of an update that came out from them, which we were able to echo, which was really helpful, and a little bit of initial chatter back and forth about CATMA and managing Bird as the bike share group and how they're being evaluated. It was great for the first couple days, and then it obviously went really quiet after that. But ironically, I did notice the two bikes that were parked on Kilburn, and even one day on my way in, I saw a person taking a picture. So they were purposely parking on the sidewalk again. The correct group to message is CATMA. They are the contract holder for the bike share Bird. And so it's helpful
I
to send
do
the
have a
message to
question.
them.
I do have a question. We have the See-Click Fix app. Is that anything that can be reacted to if somebody takes a picture of that and See-Click Fix, or is that just because it's a temporary movable item? I don't know if that would be something that could be done with that.
It possibly could. We don't currently have a section in our
Okay.
C-Click Fix, but I know the person who administers that for us. So I have thought about that myself. Just because we are not the contract owners, we've been a little resistant to taking on the management issues that are coming with these, but I do feel like our community is probably one of the larger ones using this. And with the lack of improvement, I think it might be time to take that next step.
Well, is it capital with a C or a K? Yeah, I don't know, or if you want to send it in the link, I could try drafting something.
Yeah, let me send a link to the folks at CATMA that were responding as
Okay.
the managers of that.
Okay, great. So that was it for me. Don't know if before we hand it off to John and Sophie, does anybody else have anything they want to share? News, updates?
It's Allie again. Sorry, I have another update that
Yeah.
I forgot about before. And whenever my toddler's quiet, I gotta jump in there. I just wanted to also bring up before I forgot that the meeting that was funded by this committee for the Vermont Association of Blind and Visually Impaired to do some really targeted outreach to our new American community here in Burlington. That meeting, the first one that was chosen to be targeted was the Somali Bantu community. That'll be happening next Friday, the 22nd, from 4 to 6 in the Somali Bantu. Sorry, my dog is about to go crazy because the post office guys here. The community center in Riverside. And so I just want to let folks know that was happening because it was funded by this committee. And if anybody had any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer. But I think it's a really exciting way that Fabi's going about engaging a community I think that's underserved. So sorry about the dog barking.
Okay, good. All right, so if
Can I
nobody,
ask a quick question, Nate?
Yep.
Sorry, I have not been able to come to the meetings for a couple of months. How are we doing on that sign down at the boathouse for a
the
tap?
last time I believe that they had gotten permission and they were going to be putting up the sign soon. So
Okay.
the sign was being ordered and put up. Now the discussion was more, how can we make sure people know about the sign when it's up? And what are some other things we could do for like phone apps that people can use? So I think that's the next step. But from what I
Great, 'cause
remember,
I looked for it the other day. Yeah.
yeah,
We can,
We can update on that.
yeah,
It's in production. Still in production, the sign, so it's not installed yet. And that's one of our colleagues' project. That's it.
okay. Well, hopefully it'll be up soon. And one of the things that I have the item 6 is discuss putting up information sheets for people. That was going to be one of the things I was wanted to discuss. But without further ado, let's hand it over to John and Sophie to discuss the Oaklands for All and whatever else related to Parks and Recs you want to bring up.
sure. Thanks, Nate. definitely want to provide an update on both the playground and the restrooms at Oakledge, and then also mention planning that's underway for the Halloween ride, which we are expanding a little bit to make it more inclusive, and we can discuss that a little bit. But construction has restarted at Oakledge. The extra wide family slide arrived today. I'd like to share a little video of that in a minute. But basically, we're back full tilt on wrapping up the universally accessible playground at Oakledge. And on the schedule is a grand opening celebration for November 4th. So we've got a fair amount to get done in the next few weeks, but it definitely is in our sights, and feel free to stop by and take a look. I think especially what's happening now is pretty fun to watch, and I think every day we'll see a significant kind of leap in how finished it looks. And the first thing to happen is the slide itself will be put into place. They've already started to uncover some of the equipment that's been under wraps. Benches are going in starting today, so a lot of activity. Before I show the video, I'll just quickly mention that we also have universally accessible restroom renovations happening at the lower pavilion. Similar, but a little bit further advanced than the renovations we did at the upper pavilion a number of years ago. We have a set of drawings ready to go, and we are preparing to go back out to bid. We did go out to bid and ended up with proposals that are over our budget, and we're looking to increase that budget before we go back out. And then there has been discussion of this organization's potential involvement in the grand opening at the Universally Accessible Playground on the 4th. And just want to reiterate that we are very open to that. And I think especially we really liked the idea that you might bring something really unique, and maybe something, I think Laura Wheelock mentioned this last time, that maybe we wouldn't only think about. But here is the slide arriving this morning by truck. Hopefully you get a sense of how large it is. So yeah,
that's pretty big.
Yeah, that is a pretty big slide. Yeah, that'll be the first thing that'll go in, and I expect to see that set into place in the next couple days. Again, that will be wheelchair accessible through the ramp system through the park and the transfer station at the top, and then a whole family can literally go down side by side all at once. I think the total width is either 8 or 10 feet. And I guess the last thing that was on our, I don't know if anyone has any questions or thoughts about Oakledge, but if not, I can go on and talk about the Halloween.
I just want to thank you for doing all the work on Oakledge, Burlington Parks and Rec, because I was around at the very beginning with Julia Wayne when it was a project in Julia's postgraduate certificate program at UV.
Oh, great, yeah.
So it's been a long time, but thank you. It's finally wrapping up. This is great.
Well, she's a great person to work with. So it has been a long time, but you know, I don't know.
We're getting it done.
Yep. And it was
Allie, did you have a question you wanted to bring up? I thought Allie had something, but she might
Yeah,
be
I just
chasing the
wanted
toddler.
to No, well, yeah, I'm always doing that, but I wanted to just ask, because as far as the involvement of this committee, I guess as a good segue, I had a conversation with somebody over at the Family Room, which is a organization in Burlington. If you're not familiar with, it's a wonderful organization that you should become familiar with. But they have a specific play group for children with autism and other developmental disabilities, primarily autism. And they were very interested. They serve a lot of new American families as well, so it'd probably be a population that wouldn't normally hear about maybe a park opening. And they were very interested in like using their van to transport the families that they work with on the day that this opening was going to be happening, but they wanted to know about some, you got a bag, yay. They wanted to know about some potential funding, possibly like through this committee. Like, I think it'd be pretty simple as far as, maybe just a gas reimbursement and then covering their staff person's time to transport people. I think otherwise would have a pretty significant barrier to attending. I just wanted to see if that would, if the committee would be open to a proposal like that. And if so, I can pursue letting my contact at the Family Room know that that's a possibility.
Yeah, so we had discussed it at the last meeting, and I brought that up. I think it's a great idea. I think, and hopefully, maybe I'll just send a separate email to Catherine, who is kind of holding the purse for the organization, to see what can be done. The more I thought about it, there are a couple of logistical issues, and if you're talking about somebody with mobility issues who may need a special van, like through SSPA, one of the things is that SSPA, really, if they're in the bus line or on paratransit or anything like that, they get transportation anyway. The other thing is like SSTA only provides transportation in Chittenden County, and it is really, really difficult to get them booked because just like everywhere, they have like no drivers. It's shortage. But if we can figure out a way to make it work for if somebody has mobility disabilities in need of that, to try to get a way to work with SSTA. I haven't figured it out, but maybe put a phone call in there to them. What would be available is either maybe, trying to get a rental van for just a regular passenger bus van to go down to, maybe do what you're saying, to maybe contract somebody and drive and do that. I just don't know how that would be done. I'm not sure what safety protocols City of Burlington may have. If they're going to pay somebody to drive, they might need, the type of insurance they have, the type of insurance, whether something could be used for that. And I think that's a question that I would have to ask Catherine, and I can do that. I think it's a great idea, especially to bring out of towners in. It's just what's always been a transportation issue is transportation for people to use mobility devices who aren't on that bus line, and don't qualify for paratransit SSTA services, on how to reach out to them, and also just the logistics of working it out. But I'm happy to reach out to Catherine and try to say, hey, this is a great idea to try to bring some people from out of town in, because I do think that's exactly what we want to do with this.
Ellie, who is now
Yes.
the umbrella organization for the Family Room? Because it used to be.
I think that it used to be the VFN, and I believe that they're their own organization now.
Okay, because it used to be Visiting Nurse Association, and then that changed.
VNA, sorry, yep, VNA.
So
yep.
again, UVM Home Health is not umbrella there. No,
I don't believe so. I believe that when the VNA let them go, sort of, I believe they became their own organization,
and
their own nonprofit.
Do you know who the contact person is for that that specific group working with people with the autism diagnosis?
Yeah, Sarah. I'm forgetting her last name right now. She's a staff member at the Family Room. They have like a lot of Head Start involvement as well, I believe,
Okay.
like who attend the play groups and stuff. But the actual Family Room contact person's name is Sarah, and I'm forgetting her last name off the top of my head right now. But they have their own van and their own way that they transport families that the families are very used to. So they would like probably just be seeking like a small grant,
Right.
and sort of taking on the liability on their end, not not expecting the city to hire a driver or something, if that makes sense.
See, I'm just
Um,
thinking of other connections, like Vermont Family Network might have a small grant,
Mm-hmm.
especially targeted for families with children with autism. And there's other autism support organizations. So I can follow up with you and try and get Sarah's name and contact. And I can also talk with some Head Start people I know here in Burlington about it.
I also saw John and Sophie waving their hands around, so I don't know if they're
Yeah.
looking
Oh,
at
sorry.
Um, for starters, absolutely I want those kids at the opening. So anything we can do to make that happen. It sounds like it won't be that difficult if they have their own van and their own methods of transport. If for some reason that doesn't work out, Parks has a couple of different passenger vans, and I'm sure we could find a staff member that would be willing to drive that day, do a pickup in the Old North End, and get them down here. And then I also want to mention that we've got a developing fundraising program with our Parks Foundation that I think we've talked about here. Maybe not, but anyway, where they're going to fundraise for 5 new universally accessible playgrounds over the course of the next 5 years. And we are looking for some people to be in a photo shoot for the promotional brochure or handout for that. And so it would be very good if we could have the name of the contact person. It sounds like that would be a great way to connect with that population.
I was going
Toby?
to add, oh, sorry.
He called on me.
Sorry. I was going to add, for the program for the day of the opening, we're also planning on a non-sensory hour before, because we'll have music and a lot more noise activity later in the day. The program's not set yet, but that's our intent, is to have an hour or two before all that hoopla and the press event happens, so kids with sensory challenges can attend and still participate in the opening in their own way.
So it sounds like what we could do for the next step is I could certainly reach out to Catherine and say, what do you think is doable or accessible in terms of providing funds? When I really think we're going back and forth about things, it's really about transporting people here. And I think that's the biggest thing is what could be done for that. Can they just do a grant to groups? I don't know. That's why I don't want to say yes, let's go for it. I just want to make a little more caution, yes, before that, but what the grants covered and who they can go to. And like I said, this is something that I know BCIL always bangs our head about, is using accessible transportation for people to use mobility devices, like even to get people down Montpelier when we have Disability Awareness Day, and it's always a bear because the one group that has a ramp accessible van doesn't go that far. They don't leave Chittenden County, and then you have to either pay the godly amount if they have drivers willing to do it, and that's not the case. So it's trying to figure that out. That would be the case, but maybe we could review some carpooling stuff. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of some ideas to do a local area to get some people out to this great event, because I'm really excited about it happening. So I'll reach out to Catherine and see what we can come up with.
Laura Wheelock, just out of curiosity, when you mentioned this at the last meeting, does this sort of fit kind of what you were thinking when you were talking about, I can't remember exactly how you described it, but funding something that would encourage parks to go beyond what we normally think about when we do an event like this?
Yeah, and I was poking around the budget for totally other reasons and came across the accessibility budget and where that's saved. And they did dedicate 50,000 this year to the accessibility project. And in totality, when I ran a budget report, there's been 150 dedicated since the start of that project. I didn't run a full budget report to see if any funds had been expended previously, but I was going to send you, Nate, where that's located. So as you have your conversation with Catherine, she can find it because it's not
Okay.
the most intuitive.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure.
And I just looked it up so everybody knows. Sarah Sinote or Sinot, I'm not sure how to say her last name, but she's the family and community coordinator for the family room. And I have her email address. It's Sarah at thefamilyroomvt.org. Like that's all of their email addresses of the family room start with the first name. And so Sarah knows me really well. So I'm happy, I think it'd be worthwhile to CC me on an email if anybody was going to, email her. But I'm also happy to be the point of contact too. I mean, it sounds like, what they were looking for was like maybe $200 or something. Like it sounded like it was very, very small, but they're a very small program with not a ton of outside funding. So that's a big amount of money for them. So just so that we know like the ballpark that we're talking about, like a staff time and $10 of gas or something.
I'm not so much worried about the amount. I just want to make sure we're not, I know several I was a business manager at UVM, so I know that there were several things that we could and cannot use our funds on when we got federal grants and monies like that. That's what I'm worried about. I'm not so much worried about the amount as what it can be used for. I was also thinking, and Laura, maybe you could provide feedback on this too, is that maybe this committee could use funds for ASL interpreters. I don't know if there's any plan for. I don't know if there's a speech being given or anything at the event like that, but maybe we can do ASL interpreters for the event. I am just kind of wondering that and Laura, maybe you can give me if you have an event where there's several things going on and maybe after the event happening, do you have like standby ASL interpreters to help people converse or interpret conversations? If somebody wanted to come up and talk to Parks and Rec or the mayor, how would that be used? Or is it usually just if different people are giving speeches? And I think the mayor is going to be there. So, I guess we want to have a interpreter there for that. What do you think the best use for that is? Does that make
Again,
sense?
it will depend on the layout of the event. Like, if we're gonna have a speech and then do you want people to have the opportunity to go up to the mayor? I mean, really, it's just more just gotta book them. Like, how many people are you gonna do a speech, and then how long after the speech do you want them to hang around? You know what I mean? Really depend on the agenda of what you're gonna do. And then I don't just want you to limit to ASL interpreters. I also want you to think about providing captioning for people who don't know ASL. So there are the two different audience that you're thinking of. And remember, you can put in a request through the Vermont Relay Conference captioning and get free captioning. The only requirement is to accommodate Vermonters who either live in Vermont or work in Vermont. So I just don't want you to think, oh, just as an interpreter. I also want you to think about providing captioning services as well. And then that's the other thing I wanted to, I don't know if I would call it a mini vent, but I have a complaint. Recently on social media, I saw there was a posting from the city of Burlington about a survey, and I saw that the survey was provided in multiple languages except ASL. I thought to myself, why isn't the survey provided in ASL? Do you have an answer for that?
That would be our survey for the Roosevelt Park. Is that what you're thinking about, Laura? Roosevelt Park survey, we translated into 10 languages.
I'm trying to remember. Let me look back. I'm sorry. I should have emailed you the minute I saw it and be like, I'll talk back. I'll talk back.
Regarding the captions, that is interesting. I know, and when Laura was at VCIL, we used to have meetings where we would have a kind of like a screen up, and somebody would type in the closed captions, and it'd come up on the screen. And it wasn't just for people who were deaf or hard of hearing. There are a lot of people. We had a member of the team who had autism, who was on the spectrum, and had a hard time. Maybe that's something that can be arranged. I don't know. Kind of like a screen up where somebody could just type in the speech as it's happening. That would be kind of cool. And maybe Laura, you probably know more about setting that up than us. Maybe that's something we can work together on. In terms of booking an ASL interpreter, I don't know if you do, but booking an ASL interpreters, and also the
I'm gonna share
captioning
the
part.
link. Hold on, I'm gonna share that
CART,
link.
that's what it's called. CART, the CART team. Yep. And Laura, I can also try reaching out to the Montpelier office at VCIL and see if they can give any information about that.
So wait a minute. Give information about what?
CART, how to schedule CART and what to get up with the setup for that is.
Oh yeah, I just found out. So
Okay.
I got an email. Let me find that email. Somebody said, sorry, I don't mean to go off track here. They said that they will have an estimated of $129,000, and so far out of that $129,000, $41,229 has been used. That's regarding the Vermont Relay Service captioning. So I think people are just not aware that it's available to be used for like any meeting as long as there's some sort of audio. You know what I mean? Like, that's the main thing. The captioner doesn't need to physically be there. They just need to be able to hear whatever's being spoken on the microphone.
So these funds that you're available, there's a pot of money for that. That maybe if we have CART at this event, that we'd be able to access for it.
You can use that link I share in the chat.
Okay.
Put in a request to share the. One person should fill it out. It doesn't have to be multiple people. Just one person fill it out. The name of the event, date, time, and a link. Some way for them to be able to access the event.
Okay. Is there I don't know how organic it's going to be, John and Sophia, is there a set agenda for this event that's kind of put down that we may be able to work with scheduling for interpreters and stuff like that?
I think eventually, yes. Right now, it's really just kind of, we're in the beginning stages of planning for it.
Okay.
But I think generally thinking about the event as the first what time is the start? Is it 2 o'clock, I think, and then that first hour will be the hour before that is sort of the quiet time, and then there are speeches, and then we're gonna open the thing up, and there's gonna be a dance performance and whatever. It's kind of open, and music will be playing for like the next hour or hour and a half. But we'll get you details when they come together, hopefully in the next couple of weeks or so.
Yep. And so maybe what we could do is definitely set something up for ASL interpreters and maybe the CART from 2, somewhere from 2 on up, and see if we can do something like that. And we definitely need 2 interpreters at least. And in order to do that, the earlier the better. A few weeks in advance, definitely. Okay. That's all exciting. What?
Nate, we had one other project that we can just quickly share.
Yep, knock yourself out.
We did some accessibility improvements at the Star Farm playground that involved the use of these mats that we have.
Oh, great.
First time we've used these. These can be installed over playground chips and just drastically improve the accessibility of these pieces of play equipment. And as you see, this playground really, I think, goes back to some of our first attempts to really start to be more inclusive. And also, I think, well, in my memory anyway, the first time we really started hearing from the Burlington population about what people were looking for and how we were not quite meeting the mark on that. So it's great to see like this, us be able to go back and retrofit a project like this. It's not how we would design a new playground, I don't think, from the get-go, but in order to kind of inexpensively add another layer of accessibility while preserving the built-in safety surfacing of any playground. We're pretty excited about this material.
That's
So-
actually really cool. I'm gonna try going there with my son. So we've been on a little New England tour. We've gone, whenever we travel, we go to Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine, and then whenever our toddler gets upset, it's always finding a playground. And
Oh yeah,
I lost track of the number of times where we went to a playground and they had this great setup where you have a ramp going onto the playground and all these driving things around, but it is a pile of wood chips that you'll just sink into that go into. So it's a really issue. So even something like that, even just being able to push my son on a swing, being able to get that. If that was a regular wood chips, I would sink in. I have sunk in. So
Yeah.
that's pretty exciting.
And it's at Star Farm, and we'd love your feedback. Like John said, it's the first installation. If it works well, we will retrofit Callahan would be I think the next one. And then go from there.
John, what company are these mats from and what are the actual name for the mats?
I think no.
access mats. I know that
was
is
the
the
original.
that's the beach
I
access.
need to ask. We can find out.
That'd
That'd be
Is that
great
the one that Kathy
because-
gave you the information on? Kathy Webster?
That was
Yeah,
the
that's
access
the
one.
beach access.
Yeah.
The ones at Oak Ledge.
I can share it with other people across the state because
Excellent.
Ps and PTs were constantly being asked about playground mats. And we've looked at a lot of them. These look
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks.
so Karen, do you know Kathy Webster?
Yeah, I know Kathy.
So
Yeah.
she, she does the adaptive kayaking and she
Yeah,
did a
yeah,
lot.
I
And
know Kathy.
we experimented with, because she does the NDA adaptive kayaking program, which I'm kind
Right.
of hoping will bring something there. But we really played a lot around with mats, and we always felt that the Moby mats actually weren't that great because they kind of get sand up, they bunch up. And she did a lot of research and found these mats. They're not actually mats; they're almost like harder sections that you put in. I personally find they're much, much better. I do think that maybe if somebody's in a push wheelchair, that may, because they're hard, they might have a little bit of lip if you don't get them in there.
Yeah.
They might have a little bit of a bump getting them, but I personally, in my usage and some of my friends' usage, I've found that they greatly prefer to use those. So
So again, the name of the ones Kathy is using are what again?
Access
Access
mats
tracks.
or access tracks.
Access track.
And they are currently installed at the bottom of the beach access ramp at Oak Ledge, right at
Yeah.
the bottom
I
of
saw them
the-
there. Yeah,
Yep.
that's great. And
And-
I want you to know, I'm gonna pass this on to the Burlington School District because every playground built by the Burlington School District is different. And I've been involved in a couple of them, and some of them need remodeling now, so, yeah. Public Works, or I'm sorry, Parks and Rec doesn't really connect with the school districts around playgrounds, do they?
Not exactly around playgrounds. We do have historically on grounds.
Oh, good.
To a certain extent, but that seems to be maybe less so now than 5 or 10 years ago.
Well, and I also want everyone to know that Burlington Schools has done a much better job than some other school districts' playgrounds I know. And I won't name them, but anyway, okay.
So I want to move on. I am going to jump the other item just to give people a summary, but I do want Catherine and Scott on this. But we did, back in late July, early August, we did have a complaint from a family who had booked a stay at the Burlington Hilton Hotel. Mainly a lot of it was construction. They had a lot of issues with accessibility and parking, and they really wanted to try to have somebody work with the Hilton Burlington, to try to train their staff and do all that. There were some, municipal stuff. A lot of it honestly was a laundry list of several complaints, which I kind of like went, okay, some of these are reasonable, some of these aren't, in my mind view. But and Catherine did answer, and I don't know if Laura maybe got it, but there were some municipal stuff for sidewalks and things like that that you reported on. But I do think we need to have a discussion of what can we do if we get a complaint from somebody about a business about making it accessible. It's not like we can kick down their door and say, you need to do this. VCIL, when we have stuff like that, because we do ADA trainings and stuff on making accessible, it's mainly reaching out and saying, hey, can you do this? And, you want to reach out to help you better. And some businesses are open to it and some businesses just don't reply. So I guess the question is, what can we do if somebody has a complaint about a business in Burlington, to try to convince, I don't want to say make, I want to say try to convince them to take some steps to be training. But I do think, I just want to give a quick summary of that really quick. I do think this would be something we can approach at the October meeting, when Catherine is here and Scott, because Catherine is technically the ADA coordinator, and she's the one who received the complaint. But I do find that this is one thing where I think our committee is a little hamstrung, and you have the municipal stuff, which obviously is stuff that would go to us. But when somebody else has a complaint about service or accessibility of a private business, what we could do other than those person filing a complaint. Yeah.
So we have worked through that a little bit on the public works side, because sometimes these challenges have to be solved by working within the public realm because individual businesses just don't have space. If this is a topic we want to talk in more depth, I think it would be worthwhile to bring Kara, who is the Director of Business and Workforce Development, in.
Agreed.
As well as also potentially Bill Ward from our code enforcement side. Just to have the information from both sides, both what's minimally required depending on how a business is occupied or renovating, but also more on the compelling side where Kara would come in.
I agree with that. And Kara was involved with the emails that we're talking about. So I did think about reaching out to her. I think somebody like that would be great to have on this committee, so we can have that kind of connection. But we'll see. But that is something we can push to another meeting at another time. The other thing I wanted to share with you, and I got it, at the last meeting, we've been discussing different things about an information sheet that can go on. And I think the discussion was that we would create something, we can kind of add to it, and then provide a link onto the website, onto the our work page or whatever it is, to try to get to try to help people find out like accessibility features. So this would be one of the places people can go maybe to find information on tactile sign. So I did a very, very primitive start on this. I did send it to people, but I think that I don't think it actually went through okay. So but this is just a little discussion, the point that we can go into more into edit on it. But I did, like, this is very limited to just putting out stuff in my head. So it's just like, if somebody wants to go here and look at the accessibility features, I just did a couple topics here, like Burlington, Vermont accessibility features, parking below is information about accessible parking features. I did state any vehicles in state and out of state that have accessible placards can park at any municipal parking space or parking lot free of charge of the toll. That is something I had. One thing that I've been utilizing a lot, especially in the winter, is the marketplace municipal garage. Actually, they no longer got the pull a ticket and have the gate go up, so people can just drive in. There's plenty of van accessible spaces there, and then as long as you have your placard out or a plate you just drive out and you're fine. So again, I was just brainstorming like some ideas to put on here about what we want these features to have, and then I just kind of went into bathrooms. And this is where I think things get a little more complicated because, I was saying, places that have accessible single stall and single user bathrooms. Like I know that Burlington City Hall has, I think they have accessible single stall. I don't know if they have family bathrooms. I don't know if they have universal. There's the one outside Burlington City Hall Park. Um, there is an accessible stall at the Echo Center, but they're actually family bathrooms on the second floor of the Echo Center, but you have to buy a ticket to get up there, unless I guess maybe you ask. Robert Wheeler Rec is a great example of one. They have two universally accessible bathrooms right there. So I just thought to maybe just put those in there, information that people go on, I guess. And because we only have 3 minutes left, it could be something that we can open up. Do we again put private businesses in there? Like, for example, Black Cap Coffee has been well known for having two very large single use bathrooms, which people use on time. Would that be something to put on this information sheet? Should we get their permission to do that? And just so people can go through and think about that. And then I got underneath recreation. So that I was thinking we could put things like Oakledge for all. I was thinking we could put the tactile signs there. So this is just a very, very, very rough draft of what we're doing. I do have it on my SharePoint, but I think the key was to try to add it and make adjustments to it as we go along and see if it's something that we want to, put up somewhere. Because I believe Scott said the best thing would be to have some kind of external group thing do that and put that on there rather than have something directly for the city of Burlington. I can't remember, but I think that's also a meeting, one that might be beneficial when other people are there. So I did just want to just get that and share your thoughts in 2 minutes.
Very quickly, I think it's great, and I think it's another reason to try to pull someone in like Kara, who I believe is also affiliated with Hello Burlington. There's just a lot of room where this could grow, and it has a lot of like tourism and a lot of value for a lot of different groups, and probably there are other organizations out there that could do this more holistically and better than we can. But certainly we make contributions for it. And also I think it fits in with, it gives you a little bit of leverage if you are trying to convince a business to make some upgrades. That would get them on this list of cafes that have full accessibility or whatever, which does mean something when people are planning vacations and planning where they stay and go get coffee.
Okay, yeah, that's great, and I totally agree with that. And again, I by no means I don't want people to bring up this Word document that I have on there that I probably have some bad punctuation and misspelling, but it is a very rough idea, and I just wanted people an idea. And if it is, I will send out the link. It is for share, so if people want to type in comments or add anything on that, we can do that and just work on it. But this is something we've been talking about for probably like 2-3 years, and I figured it'd be time to actually just start a draft and get it up there for us to kind of work on and see how we can adjust. And I will try to reach out to Kara after this meeting so next week and see if maybe we can get her to attend an upcoming meeting, because I do think it's important we get somebody who's affiliated with the business community to get their feedback and get them involved in that.
And right now, Google Places is a really great platform by which to access information about not any place that's actually listed on there. And I think some of our parks facilities or maybe not. I'm looking at Sophie here because she knows, and we are trying to add all these layers to our website where we talk about our facilities and what sort of not only amenities do they have for everyone, but specifically what sort of accessibility infrastructure is available for people and how to access it.
Yep. Okay. And also I want to make sure, and this is it, is they are, whatever you put up is accessible to screen readers. So people who are blind and visually impaired can be able to read that. Okay. We are at 4:01. Good meeting. I think this was great. So our next meeting is October, and hopefully we'll be getting more, be everybody back here. And Ethan will be back, and we will have some recordings and minutes and stuff that people will review afterwards. But thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.